Okay, good morning. Good morning from Sydney, Australia. It is Wednesday, so happy hump day to you all. If you are watching this live, if you're watching this as a recorded video, I'm just glad you're here. We've got a really cool topic to talk about today. But before we get into this topic for today, I just want to have a very quick chat with you guys regarding our current Boost Camp offer. So we've got Boost Camp. This is the last one for the year. So I'm talking about, of course, the December Boost Camp. Now that went live, as in I released the brand new meal plan, I think a couple of days ago. Very exciting. I always love it when we have the opportunity to release new recipes, a new meal plan. There's a great level of excitement that comes with that. But the reason why I'm super excited is because we get this one last opportunity to, of course, turn around and do a bit of Boost Camp goodness before we get into Christmas. And for many of us, me included, I would like that last opportunity to have a bit of structure because I'm pretty busy. And one of the things I really enjoy about Boost Camp is that it allows me the structure so I don't have to think about what I'm cooking. Now, it's going to be a pretty busy month coming up, so I need that structure. And in fact, we've got a really dear friend of ours who's coming home for a week. So I get to cook for more than the normal amount of people for Boost Camp, and they will be doing Boost Camp right alongside all of us. So that's pretty exciting. It's not too late to join us on Boost Camp, of course. Please feel free to come across and join us on Boost Camp, because it is going to be a very delicious end to the year for so many people. I've already seen, and as I was saying, this is the exciting part. I've already seen people who are posting their Boost Camp new recipes. They've already been testing them out, even though Boost Camp doesn't officially start till Monday, the 2nd of December. Some people are already testing out the recipes, finding new favorites, and Boost Camp hasn't even started, which is super exciting. So if you want to come join us on Boost Camp, please feel free to do so. It is going to be, as I said, a very delicious end to the 2024 season. And then we, of course, oh my gosh, we are so close to January already. We're already so close to welcoming in the new year. And my hope for all of you, and my hope for me as well, well, it's not a hope because I've made sure of it, is that I've had a pretty good 2024. And good, I'm talking in regards to maintaining this amazing lifestyle that we have created. And it's exciting to think I'm about to go into year 8 of my healthy journey. So it all started for me 8 years ago in February. So we're coming up to my 8-year health anniversary. And, not only am I still going strong, but one of the best parts about this lifestyle is it just keeps on getting better. Your body keeps on evolving and shaping. In fact, I just stood in front of my husband. I was like, does it look like my body's changed in the last couple of months? And he's like, absolutely, it does. You keep on looking younger. You keep on, your body is constantly evolving. And I think to myself, this would not be possible if I didn't continue to trust the process, continue to practice what I preach, more often than not, and also continue to create all these delicious new recipes. So Boost Camp, yep, I'm getting ready. We're off to do some shopping. We're going to start our shopping later on today. We're going to start our shopping because I actually like to start my prep a couple of days in advance. I do all the sauces. I do all the spice blends, things like that, things that I know will last for a long time in my fridge. In fact, I'll also be topping up my pickle jars in the next couple of days because pickles last forever in the fridge, and just getting myself nice and organized for the upcoming Boost Camp. And of course, closer to Boost Camp starting, I'll make breakfast. I'll make some apple cider vinegar lollies, all that sort of delicious stuff as well. So before we get into our main topic tonight, and I'm going to be talking about strategies to help you not overeat this Christmas. Really important, because Christmas is often looked at as a time of indulging, right? We just think, oh gosh, Christmas, holidays, family, friends, events that we may be invited to, things happening. How can we still maintain all this great work we've done throughout the year? Or maybe you haven't quite started yet, but you don't want to go too crazy over Christmas. Like, are there things that you can do, strategies that you can implement that are going to help to manage this period? And yes, there are. I've got 5 strategies for you. In fact, I've got 6. I've got a bonus strategy. And that bonus strategy is something you may have never even realized was so incredibly effective. So I'm going to share with you guys that. Before we get into that, I just want to say good morning to Beth. Good morning to Stephanie as well. Stephanie's you're sitting at the hospital or outpatient. Okay, I got a little bit. I thought you were in hospital. No, you're in the outpatients, but you're still, you're looking after yourself, Steph. That's the main thing. We've got Claudia joining us this morning. Also, I can see Meg as well. Good morning to Denise and the beautiful Tracy. Martina joining us from Germany. We've also got Janelle joining us from her brand new kitchen. Love those new pots too, Janelle. They look amazing. Marie, Janine, Sandy, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to the beautiful Karen as well. We've got Ida joining us. Good morning, my love. I hope you're well. And Lisa, who's joining us from the UK. So we've got our European Northern Hemisphere ladies on lockdown today. Hello to everyone who's joining me. Let's talk about Christmas. Let's talk about strategies. Christmas used to make me so nervous. I have to be completely frank with you guys. It used to be the process of, oh my gosh, I know by the end of the season, Christmas season. So Christmas season is obviously pre-Christmas, and there was usually like staff parties and stuff like that. Then there was Christmas, and there was, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then in the mix, there's also my birthday as well. So it was my birthday. And then there was New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And by the end of that period, I would usually have put on around about 5 kilos, which is about just over 10 pounds is what I would have normally put on during that Christmas period. And we're not even talking a month. We're talking less than a month. So, Christmas used to scare me because I was already carrying excessive weight. I was already not feeling the greatest, but I would always just associate Christmas with overindulging. Christmas meant letting the handbrake off and letting the car roll down the hill and not putting very much thought behind what I was doing, except the thought that this is not going to be good. So what I want to, I suppose, give us back is the confidence that, yes, we can still enjoy Christmas. We can still enjoy this period, this time, and be merry. But it does not mean that we have to take the handbrake completely off and just let the car roll. You can actually still be in control of what's happening inside of your body. So I've got 5 strategies for you. And these are the things that I now do, but also these are strategies that is backed by science. So they're not just things that are in my opinion, they're actually strategies backed by science. So the number one thing that I always do and I always recommend, and I say this because it doesn't matter where I am, it doesn't matter who I'm with, I do this. This is part of my DNA now. Like, it's such an important part of how I eat and how I view food that I probably wouldn't not be able to do it. Would not be able to do it. That's all I'm going to say. Because it's just become this habit of mine. And of course, what I'm talking about is whenever I'm in front of a buffet, or maybe I'm at someone's house, or maybe it's something I've set up in my own house, big, beautiful plate of food. Doesn't matter if it's Christmas, New Year's, my birthday, whether it's someone else's birthday, does not matter. I will always consider how I'm filling up that plate. So, Christmas is often filled with, lots of highly refined carbohydrates. There's usually lots of puddings and desserts. But I won't start there. I will never start with bread. I will always fill up my plate with the most nutritious part of whatever that meal is. Sometimes that involves me having to bring food along with me. So if we're going to someone else's house, I will inquire whether I can bring a dish, and that dish will involve lots and lots of vegetables, lots of plants, lots of fiber. So I will make it delicious, of course, because vegetables can be delicious, but I will make sure that I fill up my plate with vegetables, because the vegetables, as we know, they are the most nutritious part of the meal. And because they're the most nutritious part of the meal, they're the ones that are going to be feeding your healthy gut bacteria. Vegetables and fiber also make us feel fuller longer, because if you think about it, when we talk about something that is fibrous, that takes quite a bit of time for our tummy to break down that food. So it stays a little bit longer in our tummy. It doesn't go straight through us and give us this massive blood glucose spike, which is what we want to avoid. In fact, it slows down the emptying of our tummy, which means we get only a gradual glucose spike as opposed to a roller coaster up and down glucose spike, which is really, really important when we're talking about whether we're storing fat or whether we're using fat as energy, because you cannot use fat. That's the stored stuff that we see, all the jiggly stuff we see on us. You can't use fat as energy when your glucose levels are elevated. So one of the ways to ensure we're getting stability, even at Christmas time, is you start with vegetables. And like I said, this is just what I do every single time I'm in front of food. I look for the most nutritious part of the meal. It helps that I really enjoy vegetables now. It helps that I have built up this great gut bacteria that actually look for vegetables. Now, if you're someone who goes, oh, but I've got a sweet tooth, that's because you've got sugar-loving bacteria inside of you. I was this way. I had all the bacteria in me that loved the sugar and loved the potato chips. They were my two favorite. I also really, really loved things that were just not great for me, like I used to eat lots of bagels and lots of crumpets, and there was a real heavy starch gluten component to the way that I used to eat. So because I ate a lot of that food, those were the bacteria that called me home. And your bacteria that live inside your tummy will actually determine the types of foods that you crave. They will actually have an influence and an effect on the types of food that you crave. Hence why now I find sugary food really, really uncomfortably sweet. Whereas before I would just eat the whole lot. Now I'm just like, oh, God, that's so sweet. I have this thing, and every time I do it, and I still do it, like, let's say we're out somewhere and one of the kids will order like a Coca-Cola or a lemonade, with Sprite or whatever. And I'll see it and I'll be like, oh, I'll just have a sip. Always, right, Mum? I just have a sip. And every time I do it, they basically, all the kids just sit back and wait for my reaction, because it's never any different. I take a sip and I'm like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Literally what I say every time. I don't know why I keep going back and tasting it like it's going to be different, right? But I do find things really sweet. So even if you're someone who struggles with having a sweet palate, you have a sweet tooth, in order to get rid of that sweet tooth, we've got to keep on introducing vegetables into your diet. And one of the best ways to do it is the order that you eat in. So always make sure, number one strategy, you fill your plate with fiber and vegetables first. I'm not saying you can't have the other stuff, right? I'm not saying you can't have the pudding. But if you're starting with the good stuff, you're starting with the nutrition, you're filling up on the nutrition, on the really fibrous stuff, by the time you get to the dessert portion or the bread portion or the, whatever it might be that is the not so good for us food, the food that's not as supportive, your tummy is already feeling pretty satisfied. So you're going to eat less of those foods. So that's the number one strategy, fill your plate with vegetables. Now, the number two strategy is, and this again is something that I have just employed in my bag of tricks for the last couple of years, is that if I'm going out to a party, a Christmas party, if I'm going out to Christmas lunch or meeting up with friends or going over to someone's house, if I am leaving my kitchen, what I actually do is I eat before I go, because sometimes we don't have as much control over, we don't have as much control over what we're going to consume, but I do still have control because I'm not eating there, 24 hours. I'm just eating there sometimes one meal, or maybe I'm going to someone's house and I take it with me if I'm there for a long time. But what I like to do is I like to eat before I go. So I fill up on the nutrition, I fill up on the fiber. Because even though, we're going to someone else's house, I do not want to feel, I don't want to be that person who's like, oh no, I don't eat that. I definitely don't want to be that. So I will just make sure quietly I've eaten the high fiber foods first before I go. That means when I get there, I'm not as tempted. I'm not as hangry or hungry, and I can actually be a little bit more, a little bit more controlled in what I choose and what I eat. So it's a really good idea to have your healthy food, your high fiber foods ready to go. And when I'm talking about high fiber foods, I will do something like make my flax waffle bread. I have them sitting in my freezer. I can either defrost one of those. I can make it from raw in my little waffle maker. It takes about 3 minutes. And I will literally make a flax waffle bread. I'll put avocado on it. Maybe there'll be an egg on there as well. Maybe some tomato. Whatever I've got in the fridge will go onto that flax waffle bread and I will eat before I leave. Really, really good strategy to have in place. And it doesn't mean you have to create a whole new meal. It can be as simple as making sure you've got that flax waffle bread in your fridge or your freezer. It can be as simple as making one of my little flax bread rolls as well. Maybe you're having some type of flax seed pudding or high fiber, lots of roast vegetables, something like that is going to give you the nutrition that you need and give you the stability in that blood glucose spike that you need as well. So that's strategy number 2. Eat before you go. And don't worry about it too. Like literally when we travel and we go out for lunch, and obviously I'm in a new country and I'm going to try new foods and all that sort of stuff, I will eat lunch before we go to lunch because I don't want to be blindsided by there being very little on offer. So really, really good strategy, eat before you go. Number 3 strategy to help us to avoid that overeating at Christmas is to stick with your regular eating, your regular meal pattern. So in other words, don't sort of hold off and go, you know what, I'm not going to have breakfast or lunch because I'm going out to dinner. So I'm just going to starve myself to dinner time. Because what happens if we're not eating regular meals, if we're skipping our meals, by the time we actually get to that meal, whether it's out and about, whether it's at your own house, is you're ravenous. So you will just eat whatever it is in front of you as quickly as possible, which will in turn mean that, we can overeat, we can eat the wrong foods, and we're missing out on that wonderful balance. So avoid skipping meals over the Christmas period. Make sure that you're sticking to your regular patterns, because skipping meals can be really disastrous when it comes to that balance of nutrition, and also making sure that we don't get tempted later on by foods that are not so ideal. So number 3, eat regular meals, right? Stick to your pattern. If your pattern involves intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, stick to that as close as you can. So make sure you're getting your nutrition in. And for me, it is 3 meals a day that I do now. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm going to stick to that pattern right throughout this Christmas period as well. So that is number 3, is make sure you eat regular meals. Number 4 is plan your indulgences. Now, I don't want to say don't have them, right? We can absolutely have our indulgences, but we should be planning in advance. So in other words, if we are making sure that, we've got our nutritious stuff and then we've got our treats, we are more organized as opposed to being tempted and being blindsided. Oh my gosh, oh my goodness, I didn't know that was on the table. So plan your indulgences in advance. And in fact, I've got one better than that. And this is the bonus round. One of the things I love about Christmas is the opportunity to transform traditional recipes into their healthy version. And of course, I've got that. Let me just grab this for you guys. These are my books. You guys don't know. some of my books or all of my books? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, these are my books so far. These are the books that I've already released. Many of you know that, right? But this is the last one that I released, and it's the only book I have available that has, I still have available in hard copy. This is my Treat Yourself Healthy cookbook. This is where all the treats and the indulgences are. So these are the healthy versions of the traditional style sweets. Like, for example, in New Zealand, Australia, pavlova, right? That is in here. Oh my God, look at that. That is my chocolate avocado cake with chocolate avocado frosting. That is such a good recipe. That was my first one I turned to. But there are Christmas treats in here, so we can actually indulge, and it's still going to be sugar-free. It's going to be gluten and grain-free, and the majority of these recipes are also dairy-free as well. I've got a almond milk custard in there. You can have custard. Yes, you can. That's my scones recipe. Oh, this is probably the most popular recipe I have at Christmas time, and every year it goes viral. It is my ultimate Christmas pudding cake. I call it a Christmas pudding cake because you can eat it as pudding, you can eat it as cake, and of course, there's no added sugar. There is no gluten in here. There is no dairy in here. Yes, it does have fruit, so it is still a treat, but it's an indulgence that we can afford because it doesn't have all the nasties that that some of those Christmas cakes and puddings have. So you can make that. You can have a look through any of my recipes, and what that means is we still get to indulge, but we still also get to be mindful at the same time, because that is definitely a strategy, is planning your indulgences and being mindful of them. Mindful eating is such an important way that we can make sure that we stay on top of this season, right? We don't go completely overboard, which is a big thing. So if you're going to indulge, plan it. If you really want to plan it, go healthy, because you can. Like this I've got cheesecakes. Oh my gosh! In fact, the current boost camp, the December boost camp, I've released 3 brand new recipes for Christmas. They're the bonus recipes for Christmas in the current meal plan. And one of those recipes is my 20-minute Christmas cake or pudding. You can make Christmas cake or pudding in 20 minutes. It tastes phenomenal. Like, okay, it may not be quite as rich as the one in this book, which, by the way, takes 4 to 5 hours to bake. 4 to 5 hours to bake. But it's still absolutely amazing. And you can have it as pudding, you can have it as cake. I've currently got it sitting in the fridge downstairs maturing, because we're going to eat it as cake over Christmas, but it took me 20 minutes. There's also my 10-minute burnt bus cheesecake, which is in there as well. I do a lactose-free, sugar-free, gluten-free, grain-free cheesecake that you can now make in 10 minutes. And that's included in the bonus recipes. Plus, as well as that, the new December Boost Camp, and I'm just going to put the banner up for anyone who's new. You can still come join us on Boost Camp. It starts officially on Monday, the 2nd of December. As well as that, you will get my 64-page Christmas cookbook as well. So it's a digital cookbook. It's all Christmas, traditional recipes, made healthy, all the savories, all the sweets, all the sauces, all the side dishes, right? All the accompaniments, all the vegetables, all the different types of gravies and stuffings and all that sort of stuff. It's in that cookbook. And you get that as part of your Boost Camp journey. You get the meal plan to see you through till Christmas, and then you get all the Christmas feasting recipes as well. So you can still indulge, but indulge the right way, right? Indulge in the way that means that you're going to stay on track. And we can take those traditional recipes of ours and we can create healthy versions of them. And like that thought alone blew my mind when I first realized that I could do this. I was like, hey, you're a chef, you know, put your chef's hat on, off you go and create some healthy versions of the foods that are your comfort foods at this time of year. So that is included in your Boost Camp journey. Come join us and you get that book for free. Plus you get my free bonus recipes. Plus you get all the recipes in the meal plan that we're going to all kick off together starting next Monday. Very exciting. So that was, I've lost count how many strategies that was. That strategy number 4? Yeah, it was kind of strategy 4 and 5, but there is a bonus strategy for you guys as well. That was the bonus strategy, is just eat healthy, eat healthy treats, eat healthy indulgences, create these traditional recipes, but do the healthy version of them because they still taste amazing, right? I do not feel for 1 second that I am missing out when I do take my traditional recipe and then I do the conversions and I create their healthy alternatives, and no one knows, right? I will lay my table full of the most amazing feasting foods. I don't sit down with my family and friends and go, by the way, this is all sugar-free, dairy-free. I just say, just eat. And they just eat because it's delicious. No one knows that we're actually indulging in the most, in nutritious, nutrient-dense, nutritious, delicious food. No one knows. It's very exciting. So that is strategy 4 and 5. But one more strategy for you guys, and one that I know I'm adding this in because it is often a part of the indulgences during the Christmas period, as we know, right? And what I'm talking about is alcohol. We need to have a bit of a conversation about alcohol because for some, not all, alcohol is a factor of this time of year. Alcohol plays a role. For some people, it plays quite a big role. So when it comes to alcohol, there's just things that we need to be mindful of. When it comes to the overindulging, it's quite easy to overindulge in alcohol because it doesn't take a lot to impact our body. So alcohol, one of the first things we notice is that we lose our inhibitions, right? We get a little bit tiddly. And that is, of course, because alcohol is a neurotoxin. So it does start to create a toxic buildup in our brain. We start to get a little bit fuzzy. And that's usually the first thing that we notice. But it's that fuzziness that does lead to us kind of, taking the handbrake off and letting the car slide down the hill out of control, because we do lose our inhibitions. We do tend to have more opportunity to indulge in things we wouldn't normally indulge in because we've lost that little bit of inhibition that we might have had. So when it comes to alcohol, we all need to be really mindful of the role that it plays. And yes, there are calories associated with alcohol as well, but even more so, it's that we tend to overindulge in food when we've had a few drinks. So when it comes to alcohol, there's a few things that I suggest that you do. So the number one thing that I suggest that you do is that when it comes to drinking, I'm not saying do not drink, but try to choose alcohol that have the least impact on the waistline. So you want to stay away from the sweetened cocktails. That's usually a big one. You want to stay away from the liqueurs as well. Anything that's got a sweet palate tends to have a lot of residual sugars in there. So it's high in carbohydrates, which is not only going to make you a little bit tiddly or very tiddly, but it's also going to push up that energy load in your body and give you a blood glucose spike. So you want to avoid those types of sweetened beverages or overly sweet cocktails or really sweet liqueurs, even sweet wines. So our sweeter palated wines, again, the reason why they're sweet is because they've had residual sugars or sugars added to the winemaking process. So you get obviously dessert wines, which are very sweet, but then you also have quite sweet whites and even sweet reds. So you kind of want to avoid those ones as much as possible. If you must indulge, try and keep it quite dry. Try and keep it quite simple. Avoid mixes, can be also quite problematic. So if you're putting Coke or Sprite or anything like that into them, like I like to go for a plain soda water with a bit of fresh lemon juice, a bit of fresh lime juice, something along those lines. And I keep my spirits very dry as well. So I'll be having the dry spirits. So for every glass of alcohol, it's also a good idea that you have a big glass of water with every single drink that you have. I was talking to our kids over the weekend. All our children went out. They went because they just go off and do their thing. And we had cousins coming over from other countries to join the kids. There was a couple of birthdays they were celebrating. And one of the observations that the kids made for us, no, they're not kids. They're all in their late 20s and 30s, so they're still our kids, right? One of the observations that the kids made was that they were really surprised at how much water was being consumed throughout the weekend. And when I think back, I'm like, yeah, actually that would make a difference, because I can't recall being that way inclined when I was in my 20s and my 30s. But there is a little bit more awareness now that we need to keep up our fluid intake as we are consuming alcohol. And this is just to help to flush the toxins, because remember, alcohol is a neurotoxin. That is to help to flush the toxins a little bit faster through our system, to make sure we stay hydrated, because alcohol will dehydrate you as well, and to lessen the load of the neurotoxins affecting us negatively as well. So keep up your water. Another good idea is to eat before you start drinking. Again, we'll go back to strategy number 1, is you've got to fill up with the nutrients first. So get yourself a big plate of fiber and vegetables and protein and healthy fats. Like, eat before you drink. Do not drink on an empty tummy, because that'll obviously make us more tiddly faster. We need a bit of food in there, and the good food to help to soak up some of those side effects of alcohol. But just be mindful. The other side effect of alcohol, aside from the overeating, potentially eating the wrong foods, the energy load or the calorie load in alcohol, the neurotoxins, could go on and on. But the other side effect of alcohol is it will also disrupt your sleep. So alcohol dysregulates the hormone cortisol in our body. So cortisol, as we know, is our stress hormone, or our fight or flight hormone. And so when we drink alcohol, the alcohol actually dysregulates cortisol in our body. So what this means is that for some people, they can get quite emotional, because that's basically because of the cortisol being dysregulated. Some people can get quite sleepy as well from the alcohol. But what tends to happen is, because your cortisol is dysregulated, you don't stay asleep. So you might fall asleep, but what we do find is that people who drink, and I'm not talking about one glass, I'm talking about, 2 or 3 glasses or portions of alcohol throughout the evening, is they will actually wake up through the night and find it very difficult to go back to sleep. And that is because of the dysregulation of cortisol in the body. Now, cortisol is the hormone responsible for waking you up. Hence why you're waking you up, because it's not balanced as it normally is. And this is one of the reasons why we struggle with sleep when we've had a few drinks. So if you have a few drinks and you wake up the next day and you're feeling a little bit off and you haven't had a good sleep, don't back it up with having more drinks. Have a night off. Have a day off. Have a couple of days off. Give your body time to readjust. Give your body time to rehydrate, and give your cortisol time to rebalance as well. So at least you get some better sleep in. So those are my suggestions for Christmas. 5 little strategies for you guys. Really good things to play. Like I said, this is just what I do, right? This has just become how I live life. And at Christmas time, I'm even more aware that I need to employ these strategies as well. So great having you all join me today. It's been a wonderful little session for all of us. Please come back and join me tomorrow. Join us on Boost Camp. Join us online. Join us in our private communities, BHK Family on Facebook. We've also got the 28-day Boost Camp private community. If you're a camper, you can join me on Instagram. You can follow me on YouTube. You can join me on TikTok. You can join me on Pinterest. I'm all over the place. I will see you guys all tomorrow back here for another session about some healthy ways that we can look to move forward, even in the last couple of weeks of 2024. Take care, everyone. Be well, be safe. Goodbye, everyone.